Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, video games, food, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi. Hi, Tavi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's 2023.
Yeah.
What a ride 2022 was. Even though I can't think of anything that's
I'm sure
in 2022.
stuff happened and it was eventful. Yeah. But no, I think it went by pretty quickly for me.
Yeah,
I kept because you and I are preparing for like a best of, worst of list. And like I kept thinking of stuff and then looking back and I was like, oh, that was 2021 actually. That was
actually, me too. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, look forward to that. Yeah, that's going to be in one of our soon to be released upcoming episodes. There's actually a few sudden things that we have to cover first.
Yeah, we're going to be busy
a little time
over the next couple of weeks.
Fucking hell, man.
So it's a good thing we took that break, right? We're fresh, we're full of energy. How did you enjoy the break, Tavi?
It was pretty good. It was pretty hot. Fuck. Yeah. We had like maybe in Melbourne 2 kind of heat waves, like 3 days in a row of at least like 30 to 35 degrees Celsius for those who
That's pretty damn
don't
hot.
use that system. Yeah. I don't have AC at home, so it's not easy on one of the days.
Yeah, because I went to Perth, and the day I left Sydney, it was like pretty cool. It had been pretty cool weather. But then when we got to Perth, it was hot. But like that was when Melbourne and Sydney's heat wave just started. So actually Melbourne and Sydney turned out hotter than Perth for once.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
I thought Perth was... I remember watching the news.
Like, we just missed the heat wave in Perth, and we got there to, like, pretty pleasant weather. But whereas you guys, like, copped a late heat wave.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say not that hot, but it was still, like, 32 degrees plus.
Yeah. But do you have AC?
Yeah, for the most part, we did, yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't really use the AC that much, because...
Nah, I'd just use it.
It's bad for you, Tavi. It's bad for your lungs and throat.
Nah, I need to sleep. Like, not sleeping is worse for my...
Yeah, that's fair.
During spring, I've been able to wake up, like, pretty fresh, ready to do stuff during the morning. But summer, because it's just hot, and, like, I have the fan on all night, and then I wake up, and then, like, my bones are sore, and I'm just tired. Yeah. And like even if I go to bed early, I'm still getting up late just because I'm not sleeping very well because it's hot.
Yeah,
so it's just like
I've been to your house in summer. Sucks.
Yeah, my room is it's a sauna, man. I've got like basically my computer that's on here that's always doing something, so it's always on.
Yeah,
and then it's like it's just hot. Yeah. So
it's just a series of heat sources in your house.
There's me. There's my computer.
There's a TV. There's a refrigerator. It's just all pumping out heat into this house that doesn't have AC.
But luckily, I've had a good TV show to keep me occupied during the heat,
and we had plenty of time to watch it as well. What are we talking about?
We're talking about the latest season of Alice in Borderlands. So, season 2? Yeah. I watched this rather quickly, actually.
Pretty easy to binge. Came out on Netflix all in one chunk, which is always nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched it over a period of like a week, I guess. And I kind of like purposely spread it out because I was just enjoying it. So I'm like, I'm going to like savor some this show.
For listeners that are perhaps unfamiliar with Alice in Borderland, because you might have missed it because it came out, season 1 came out at around the same time, maybe a bit
2021?
before. Yeah, maybe a bit before Squid Game came out. But
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically this group of people. The main character's name is Arisu. They live in Tokyo, but then they get transported to a mysterious. What would you call it? Like a different world. Yeah, parallel world Tokyo. Where it's kind of deserted, but there are a few people living there. In order to survive in this parallel Tokyo, these people must play a series of death games and survive these games in order to gain visa or extra days on their visa. If they lose any of the games, they die. If their visa runs out, they die. All pretty mysterious stuff. Based on a manga, right?
Yeah. I guess to recap the ending of the first season, it's like.
Oh, we're gonna do full spoilers, I think, for this.
It's too hard. It's it's basically like a manga. It's basically anime.
If you haven't watched Alice in Borderland, stop listening now, because we'll be dropping spoilers for both season 1 and season 2 during the course of this episode. And pretty good show. So if you haven't watched it, check it out and come back.
Yeah. So they basically win the last death game. I think they get all the cards right after the beach where they had to find the witch.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then it's revealed that there's a game master who is in the form of Mira, who's like a very kind of orgasmic evil person.
Yeah, she had been infiltrated their group on the beach, right? And was kind of undercover there. But last episode of season 1, she reveals herself to be a quote-unquote game master, and she also unveils a series of face card games.
So games against like the citizens of the land.
So the Jack, Queen, and Kings of each suit. Those that have watched season 1 will remember that the different suits represent the different types of games. So spades are games of strength. Hearts are games of betrayal, clubs are team-based games, and diamonds are games of wits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually forgot that. It's just
me too.
Yeah.
But they do a pretty good job at recapping for season 2. So, season 2 starts off with Arisu and the group. Arisu, Queen, Usagi, and Chishia,
and the one that me and Risky always keep talking about, Anne
is there. Well, Anne shows up a bit later, I think. But those guys.
She's there. She's there at the start.
Is she? Okay.
Because basically the opening season 2 starts off with like a bang, it's very it's not fucking around.
So we're immediately introduced to the King of Spades. So in the past, the games were somewhat creative, right? They all kind of had their own twists. Like there was that game where they were in the apartment building and they had to try to find the bomb while evading like a gunman in a horse mask, But the King of Spades game basically is just a guy with guns.
Just a guy with guns and just killing everyone.
That's the game. You just don't get shot by him.
Don't get shot by him. You got to be on your toes, know. He just comes down from the blimp, and just guns people down.
He's got limitless ammo. He's got grenades. He's got an anti-tank rifle. And that's how this season starts. It's just him mowing down a lot of people.
It just kills a lot of people.
I find that it's a bit of a unfair advantage, not explaining the rules of the game before starting the game. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like that's kind of almost the law of the land. Really, it's just.
For every other game, they tell the citizens, or not the citizens, they tell the participants the rules of the games and how they can win the games. But this guy, he just starts by shooting everybody. They're like, so when is this game gonna start? Bang.
Just shoots people. That's very true. Maybe the game master was asleep or something, or just kind of just go shoot people.
So the first episode is that him running around shooting people and Arisu just running away and escaping him, right?
This is just an overarching, omnipresent villain.
Which we make fun of, but it was fun to watch. I did enjoy the start of this season, just the sheer panic.
It's very it's definitely very impressive action set pieces. I think season 2 got a budget upgrade because I didn't rewatch season 1, so I don't remember. There was definitely action scenes running in the tunnel with the water, the tiger. But there wasn't as much. I can't remember if there was as much high octane action compared to season 2, because there's a car chase that immediately follows, and a really good car chase as well.
I was gonna say.
I was like, wow, fucking hell, I mean, good on you, Netflix, for putting your money into a good project for a change.
I remember the one of the shots that impressed us the most in season 1 was deserted Shibuya crossing. So that's Scramble Crossing, right? Which was apparently done by like building a set as well as using green screens, which was pretty impressive. But like,
season 2 fooled me and Boone,
season 2 had an action set piece like within that crossing, which was really cool to watch. And like the overgrowth as well, like on all of the rusted out cars and all the buildings and stuff, and they're just driving through this environment. That like I don't know how they did it. I assume it's the same, just a combination of practical sets and green screen.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of behind the scenes just before, and like they closed like a road, and I think the claim was it's like probably like the biggest road closure for filming ever done in Japan.
Was it
I don't
Tokyo,
know.
do you know.
It would obviously not have been in like Shibuya area because that's just impossible. But like, I don't know where they shot it, but I was just watching them shoot the scene, and like, they had a camera attached to a car rig, and they're just driving down these roads. And I think the actress Ayaka Miyoshi, she did some of the driving.
Oh, okay.
So
that's
a big thing, a big thing in this show in general is the actors doing their own stunts, which I was like pretty impressed by. Tao Tsuchiya, who plays Usagi, she's had a history of being in like martial arts films.
Was she in one of the Kenshin movies?
Yeah, she's in 2 of them or 3 of them. Yeah, she basically did all of her own stunts.
She does a lot of parkour in this season.
Yeah.
That's kind of a thing is...
just like jumping over shit. Yeah. And like, even, Kento Yamazaki, who plays Arisu, who looks like super different in real life. Like,
I saw like a recent interview. He's got like this
he looks like a fucking hair. He looks like a prince. He looks like a prince, man, like a Japanese prince. I'm like, Jesus, this is so different.
It looks like he's coming off the set of Japanese interview with a vampire.
An amazing achievement, like in the show, because a lot of the actors who are playing the characters in the show look completely different in real life. It's like not the same person. The girl that plays Kuina looks like completely different in real life. She looks like a typical like cute Japanese girl, and then it's just like you put all the makeup on, and I think the dreads are a wig as well. She transforms.
You wouldn't want that hairstyle in real life. It's not great,
especially if you can get into a bit of trouble these days having that kind of hairstyle if you. But
I mean, it's all like pretty anime, like the styling of the characters in the show. Right?
I'm a fucking Chishia, man.
He's straight out of the comic book. They don't really change their clothes either. Like Kuina runs around with just a bikini top on for the whole show, whereas if you're in real life, you'd grab a t-shirt from a corpse or something. You don't want that much exposed skin in that kind of environment.
I think I mentioned to Risky, it's like, they're in this kind of world where there's no electricity, no mod cons, and they're running around playing these dangerous games, yet they all manage to like look very attractive like constantly. Have perfect hair, perfect makeup. Even like running around in a bikini all the time is not the most viable protecting.
And those jeans, those tight clothes. Jeans, forget about it. You'd be chafing so hard after the first game.
But like there is kind of a reason. Like obviously it's stylistic, but when we get closer to more spoilers near the end, even though we said there's going to be spoilers, but like
we'll talk about the ending in a bit.
It kind of it justifies it.
It is kind of like the anime stylings of the show as well. I feel like this season in particular went full anime when it came to like the tone and like some of the new characters as well. The one character in particular that we want to talk about is
we'll just talk about
the King of Clubs, Kuma.
Kuma, he was my favorite character in the season. I don't think you're alone just rocks up like naked. I mean, there's a lot of like really good looking women in this show, and they've always been in this Alice in Borderlands. But then like when Kuma comes out, I was like, man, What a like whoever thought of the stereotype that Asian guys can't be sexy. Yeah, just watch the show.
Yeah, this guy's an Adonis. And just his his approach to life as well is just really cool.
Yeah,
you know, like he's in this world, right, where he has to play games, and it's kind of like a life or death situation. But him and his group, for that matter, like he comes in with his team, which turns out is his former band in the real world. So, but like, they're just kind of really blasé about the situation. They're just like, if we die, we die, you know, but we're not going to, we're going to live how we want to live, kind of thing. Yeah. Like, it's very rock and roll, their attitude towards this whole thing.
I really enjoyed the first game, Osmosis, which is basically a game of like tag and capture the flag combined. Yeah. So they had to like get points basically. So I guess we won't explain the whole. It'll probably take too long, but
it's let's basically assume that everybody's watched it.
Yeah, that's true. But it's basically Alice's crew. I mean, Adisu's crew versus Kuma's crew, and I think the big thing about this season is there's no like there's antagonists because he's an antagonist for sure, but everyone is kind of on the same page or the same, like, you don't really hate anyone in this game.
Yeah.
That's on the other side.
I guess from the start, it's kind of like the game participants, so the people that Alice hung out with on the beach, versus the citizens who are in charge of these face card games. But like the more you kind of like experience the games, the more you tend to like sympathize with the citizens, and the more you kind of realize that they're just like the players actually. Everyone they're all kind of playing this game together.
Well, especially in this game, I didn't want them to lose either, but I really wanted Arisu to win.
Yeah,
I think it's a good strength of this show. Like very very likable characters.
Yeah, and in season 1, it felt like a lot of the characters were kind of expendable. But now that we're like one season in, and you've got like the core group of Arisu, Kuina, Usagi, Chishia, and Anne, you don't really want any of them to die. Until Tata is reintroduced, and then you're
I actually forgot who Tata. I forgot who Tata was. I'm like, who's this guy? He's like,
he probably doesn't know. He's probably gonna get killed soon.
Well, he kind of technically does. Yeah.
He does. Yeah, he sacrifices himself to win the Osmosis game, which is fair. You know, like it's kind of par for the course for these kinds of shows. You got to have your expendable characters, and they kind of like. You do know who they are when you see the... but the thing I liked about Osmosis was kind of like... It had that Alice in Borderland game appeal where it's like half a game of wits, but there's like an emotional core as well.
Yeah.
And there's also like strength involved. So kind of like everybody in the group had their role to play within the game. And it opened the floor up to a lot of like twists because of the nature of the game's rules. So like Addis could kind of think of a strategy for winning, but then the other team can kind of combat that strategy. So it's very anime, you know, like that kind of tit for tat.
I really enjoyed Usagi's like parkour in this game.
There was like another guy that happened to be good at parkour.
There's a parkour guy, and Koina had like her counterpart, like she was like doing judo with the dude.
Yeah.
What do you think about just in general the action choreography of the show?
Yeah, I think it looks good. I think it's like got that, like I kind of want to compare it to Kenshin movies because it's kind of got that action direction where there aren't that many cuts and it's kind of like a floating camera situation that's like following the action. And like the stunts themselves, like there might be like probably a bit of wire work in there.
Oh no, there definitely is wire work,
but it's like, kind of like in between like something like a Spider-Man, but like it's still like kind of superhuman. Do you know what I mean? Like it's got that anime thing of being like we couldn't do it. You know, we couldn't jump that far or jump that high. But it's not like and it is a Marvel level superhuman amount of strength, if that makes sense.
Nah, because I was watching the behind the scenes moment where like Tao Tsuchiya jumps from that container to the bottom one, you know, the really giant leap.
Right.
And it's basically, yeah, she has like some wires attached on her, but she actually did run and jump that far. I think the wires were there as a, you know, if she fucks up, she dies.
Sure.
So, you know, they were just like, all right, we better, like, you know, give some safety to our actors.
I think you can only pull off that kind of action direction when it's the actual actors doing their own stunts.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, the reason, like, a lot of cuts might be needed is if there's a lot of stunt people involved, because you kind of have to hide faces and whatnot. But if it's the actors doing their own stuff, then you can allow for longer takes and fewer cuts, which is, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and choreography in a different matter. I guess you got to give kudos to the lighting and camera department whenever they had to shoot humor scenes. Like, so how are we going to hide his junk?
I was thinking, like, just the fact that this guy's nude in all his scenes made it so much harder for the cinema.
Yeah. So how are we going to hide this guy's junk?
But I liked it. I enjoyed it. Like how the creative ways they found to block out his junk.
You know, I mean, this is a lot of attention to detail. If they're going to build Shibuya, they may as well, like, try to hide a guy's junk while trying to, you know.
And it's really like we've talked about how anime often mixes tone together. So like there'll be like random bits of humor mixed in with pretty dark stuff. And like this is kind of an example of that working. It's like they're playing this game that's basically a fight to the death between these two teams. But this guy is nude and and it's like kind of awkward because he is nude, you know? So like, and it doesn't really take you out of the situation though. That mix of tones, like if anything, it kind of elevates the scene because it makes it a lot of fun to watch, and it even makes some of the characters a bit more relatable. Like Alice's reaction to this nude guy is pretty it's pretty relatable, right? Like you wouldn't really know how to feel or where to look.
I was so inspired by Kuma that during the heat wave, like when I had the house to myself for a bit, just rocking around the garden, just like topless, just like it's too hot.
The only exception is there's no like nothing to block out your junk tub.
Nothing to block out my junk. So after Osmosis, it doesn't really let go in terms of pacing because we immediately go into another game because during the shootout at the start of the show, like King of Spades, like Anne and Chishiya they get separated. So Chishiya is playing his this new game, the prison game, and it's basically like they have to guess the suits on the back of their necks, otherwise they like blow up, or they got to enter these prisons or whatever.
So but this is a Jack of Hearts game. You probably already
watched the show.
Jack of Hearts game, so it's based on betrayal. So the betrayal aspect is like the only way you can know the suit on the back of your neck is if you ask someone. But they can always lie to you about your seat, which is what happens. Basically, because like the game doesn't end until the Jack of Hearts, right? The Jack of Hearts is killed. So you want to survive the game, but at the same time, you need to find out who the Jack of Hearts is and kill them. So that it's basically like all of the participants suspecting each other of being the Jack of Hearts or just being jerks and just killing people.
That's just, I don't like that person. I will give a quick shout out to I recognize that one of the contestants is the lead actress in One Cut of the Dead.
Was that the goth lolly? Is that the...
No, not her. No, she's even more minor role than. She's like the second chick that dies. You don't see it. She dies off screen, but like it's the one. She's like the one that she asks like the goth lolly like, "Oh, should we kill that guy?" Because like he kind of didn't do. And then the goth lolly is like, "Yeah, that woman like is sneaky." So I was like, "Oh, that's sad." Like because she's dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, because I've seen One Cut of the Dead a lot, so like I instantly
I didn't recognize
her. Yeah, so it's good to see she's getting bigger roles, I guess.
I guess.
Dying as a minor character in Alice in Borderland.
But no, this game was fun as well. I enjoyed all the Shishia games, just because like of the cerebral nature of them generally.
Yeah.
This one had introduced some interesting characters as well, which we don't really see a lot of. There's these two guys in it. Like one of them is like a host or a con man or something, like a very slick-looking guy. And there's also like a sociopath,
a serial killer,
guy.
An sociopathic guy.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Chishia games. But I would have to admit, if I think back on them, they're kind of like the weaker parts of the season.
Okay.
For me, I do like that like cerebral nature of anime and those games where you're like analyzing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the conclusions to each game were still like kind of convenient. Even though like Chishia does say, like it's a little bit of luck. I think I personally like Chishia's second game, which I guess we'll talk about the games in order, so we'll get to that. But the ending to this one is like a little bit implausible because it's, the dude, like the Jack of Clubs, the Jack of Hearts, right? Yeah. Comes out and starts laughing and reveals himself. I'm like, because like, he would hear the bang,
Oh yeah, you're right.
And it's like,
oh no, but it was only die,
one.
Though.
Yeah, it was the girl that dies. So he only would have heard one bang.
Well, but maybe they all happen at the same time, though.
No, but wouldn't it have been a bigger bang? Like
Yeah, I guess so.
It kind of like
hubris, Tavi.
But like you'd still like, I don't know, like if you've been playing this game and you're a citizen,
right? Yeah.
And I guess if he's a sociopath, but it's still kind of like you would kind of check first.
My problem with this game is that, like, Kuma, he said that they came up with the game Osmosis, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume that all the face cards came up with their own game, right?
Oh, that's true. I think.
But this Jack of Hearts game is so stacked against the Jack of Hearts. Like, it's so much harder for the Jack of Hearts to win this game than it is for like the participants to win this game. So like,
well, maybe he's just a sociopath. Maybe he enjoys that challenge.
Maybe he was just too overconfident in his own ability. But no, I mean, I enjoyed the reveal, like that those two guys were working together, and the explanation of how that came to be, that they began working together. I still feel like they probably wouldn't have kept Chishia alive.
Yeah, Chishia's a bit too OP, maybe. Like it gets like a little bit too anime, I think, in his games. Because I mean, just Chishia himself, this character design is like the embodiment of an anime character.
Yeah.
Like you'd be hard pressed to see anyone look like that. He's revealed to be a doctor in real life. Like, if you were a doctor, spotted that haircut, you'd be like...
I cracked up when, his flashback started. Because he looks the same, but he's wearing a white coat. I'm like, no doctors look like this.
You can't take him seriously. I'm like... It's like...
If I went to a new doctor and he looked like that, I would ask for a different doctor, I think.
Well, it's all about self-expression these days. You can dress up however you want now, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, Shichio wins his game.
He wins his game. Yeah, and then there's a little bit of a break in between the next game, which I liked because I was like, because it doesn't really let go of the pedal. Once the action starts. There's a little bit of, just bringing it back a bit, like Usagi's backstory about her, not wanting to go back to the real world.
I feel like that was kind of like a recurring theme throughout this season, was like, perhaps this world is better than the real world, or perhaps this world is more real than the world they came from.
You can see your true personalities as, Kuma says. Like,
yeah, so Kuma mentions
naked.
it.
Yeah.
Those two guys from the Jack of Hearts game mentions it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much every like a lot of the characters in this season mention that, yeah, maybe they prefer this world.
Yeah. I like that. Like, it's... I like the exploration of, like, the kind of, I guess, desolate world, but maybe it's like, you know, people just like this world better because you're more free, you know? And it's kind of what I imagined when I was watching season 1, what Alice in Borderland would look like a bit more. Because, like, you know, when... I mean, I still stand by, I think the first 3 episodes of season 1 are, like, the best. Like... in the whole series, like the best writing and the most emotional impact. But like when it gets to the beach in season 1, I think a lot of people were a little bit turned off by it, or maybe just me. I don't know, because for me, like aesthetically, watching that saga reminded me of Crazy Rich Asians because everyone's just partying all the time. I think
that's what they were going for, right?
And I was just like, I don't know if I like this. But in season 2, it's like it's more of that kind of. It almost reminds me of Last of Us, really. This kind
like
of
the
broken. So I just thought it was really cool just to kind of see this world expand in this way, and it's kind of like, you know, the omnipresence of the King of Spades. You never know when it's going to come down and just gun a bunch of people down.
And you get to see a bit more of it in this season.
He's basically like Nemesis. You know,
basically.
In a game. He just comes down, he's unkillable, and just fuck shit up, you know. You think you're safe. Yeah. So I enjoyed that.
But I did enjoy you get to see more of this world during this lull. Like Anne goes on a bit of a hike because she's trying to uncover the secrets of where they are. Like it's still a mystery what is actually happening, and she seems to be the only one that's trying to uncover the mystery, right? While everybody else is just playing the games in order to survive, she's actually trying to find answers. She doesn't get very many answers, to be honest.
I feel like Anne, the character, she doesn't get very much screen time. I mean, like, you know, me and Risky were like, Rizuna didn't get much screen time because, you know, she's Risky's MVP. Like, you know, it's all I ever saw. But Risky's like, Anne, man. But like, she doesn't really do anything.
We don't really see her play any games.
She plays that game with Queen. It's kind of like a really quick. It looks really funny. They're like flipping around and dodging. It actually look really funny. It's like in the later part of the season, where it's like I could tell that like Netflix are hurrying it up, guys. So they're just like playing this dodgeball.
Yeah, they didn't really play to her strength because she's like meant to be a thinker as well. Like she's in the same vein as Chishia. So it would have been nice to see her play like
her in a game because Chishia gets like 2 games.
Yeah.
And they all have like a game, like because Kuina is in Osmosis. Most of it. Even Niragi, who I thought was dead, who most people thought he was dead. It was like, this guy's back, you know? Like out of all the mains, like they all get like quite a lot of screen time in a game, except Anne. I'm not sure how it is in the manga, whether she has like a game to herself or they omitted it or I don't know.
Even if she didn't get a game, it would have been nice for her to like actually discover something. You know, like she doesn't really find much out. Like I would understand that if they were building up to like a season 3, so they had to keep of you know some more secrets. But
that's what I was thinking. Like, they're not using her much, but she's gonna get her reveal. But like, that's.
But no, this is the last season. So
this is the last season. I was like, oh shit!
She basically goes on a walk for nothing. But speaking of guys that come back from the dead, Agony as well comes back.
Yeah, Agony. Yeah. So and he's got his high school chick partner.
What's her name?
Who's got missing her leg. I think so. Yeah.
I predicted that there'd be a woman that was good at archery in this season. Because, you know, these apocalyptic situations, there's always a chick that's good at archery.
That's very true,
she rocks up with her her prosthetic leg and her bow. What do you think of her addition?
I liked her character. honestly, I think she probably did more than Anne. Actually, she has a pretty brief, I guess, backstory in the show, and I think it's just enough. And yeah, I think she was a good character, and
I think she was pretty pointless to me. I liked her character and I liked her backstory, but I feel like this is a character that's probably explored more in the manga and anime.
Yeah.
And wasn't given enough time in this show.
Yeah, you're probably right. I wouldn't say completely pointless because it's probably eye candy as well. So
yeah, I guess.
The guy's like, oh yeah, just add another hot chick to the show. So, but yeah, no, she doesn't do very much.
You gotta have someone that's good at archery in your apocalypse show.
Yeah, no, I think you're right actually, because good in the eyes, and she's a cool character, but yeah, she doesn't really do much. She's kind of got a thing for Aguni, and after her main backstory, it's kind of like, oh. And then when it's ended, as you said, if there was going to be a season 3, it's like, oh, we're going to see more of her. And then it's like, nah, that's all you see. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe they just needed more fodder characters to kill off. Because, she says this line that is basically a death sentence in these kind of shows. Yeah. She's like, I'm definitely not going to die. I'm like, oh, okay, she's going to die then.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a subversion of that in event, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But the next game after the prison game we're back with the Arisu and Usagi.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the Queen of Spades game.
Yeah.
Called Checkmate.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. Yeah, that's right. They meet Aguni and Ayane in between that anyway, so it does make sense. And they discover the film as well, which doesn't really lead.
Yeah, again, it's kind of building the intrigue of this world a bit.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the game. It's basically another chasey, right?
Basically Gang Tiggy, right?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, Gang Tiggy. Probably one of the less interesting villain antagonists, I would say. It's just a very athletic queen girl that likes Arisu. Yeah, and she has that fight scene with Usagi, which is quite interesting because I saw in another interview that Tao Tsuchiya said she tried to make it look like Usagi doesn't know how to fight.
Yeah, I got that. When I was watching that, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice that Usagi isn't really good at fighting.
Yeah, she's not fucking, I don't know.
She's good at flipping around and jumping around and stuff, but that's
she
pretty
can't
much
fight.
her ability. So when faced against a brawler, the King of Spades or the Queen of Spades, she can't really do that much. Is she the Queen of
Spades? Yeah, because Spades is physical.
This girl's the Queen of Spades, yeah.
And yeah, it's cool because as I think she said, as an actress, because she knows martial arts, it's going against her teaching.
Yeah.
So I think that was it's a nice touch, I think it's a lot of these little intricacies throughout the show, going back to the production design with Shibuya. Kento Yamazaki said, when he was walking around the set, the people who had built the set of Shibuya built it with so much detail that he noticed shops and stuff that he did not recognize before, and then when he'd go back to Shibuya, he'd see the shops there or something like that. So that's that's cool, man.
Yeah, no, really cool.
Good on you, production design. You don't get enough credit on these shows. Yeah, but yeah, that game, it's they've got a kid that they had to protect.
Yeah, I guess the stakes are raised a little bit by this kid.
Pretty straightforward game though.
It's another game that was kind of a little bit flawed because the idea is if the majority by the end of the game is the winner, right? So if they keep playing, it's just gonna get more and more people on the Queen's team, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of doesn't make sense if you think about it too hard, but I guess you don't need to think about it too hard.
Yeah, it's true.
What disappointed me about this game though was the conclusion. I felt was a little bit rushed. It was like
it's like what do we die for? What's the scene in Pirates?
Basically,
Usagi has her.
Usagi's like, I've got a plan to win this game, and I'm like, okay, Usagi's got a plan. All right, let's see what it is. And it's basically a Pirates of the Caribbean speech.
I don't remember how the speech goes. Like, what is worth fighting for?
No, she's like, then what shall we die for?
That's basically what happens, and then it's like, except they actually follow Usagi as opposed to being a comic foil. It's like literally like 100% of them. So I mean, I guess like the Queen of Spades didn't have any lackeys like Kyoma did. They just all betrayed her in the end. It's like, I'm just going to join this team now. Like,
because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Which I guess was kind of the point of the game as well. It's like
like you're just thinking, it's probably like, at this point they're starting to rush it now. Maybe the budget was starting to get a bit stretched. Again, because like I didn't know this was the last season when I was watching it. So I'm like, she basically has like the same philosophies as Kuma as well, but like I guess they didn't want to retread that because it had already been said by his character. So she just jumps off and just gets killed in the air. What's the game after that? It's like,
so the game after that is another Shishiya game. It's the King of Diamonds. Game, which is the game of wits called Balance a Scale. So they meet another character that was from the beach, Kuzuryu, who turns out to be the King of Diamonds.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was either. I'm like, I guess he's on the beach until the flashback.
So he was one of the chair people at the beach.
Yeah, this is when the show kind of rears more of its horror elements, which I really enjoyed. You want to explain the game?
So the game is basically it's a math game. Right, so it's a table, a round table, 5 or so contestants. They all have to pick a number between 0 and 100. The numbers that they choose are added together and multiplied by 0.8. And the person closest to the average, the person who chose the number closest to the average, is the winner. Everyone else loses a point, and once you lose 10 points, you get acid poured onto your face and you die horribly.
I really enjoyed those effects. It's very like kind of Sam Raimi style. So I was like, it's pretty. It's not a good way to go. I think it's probably the worst way to go out of all the deaths in this show.
And I really enjoy, like, there's a trope in anime that I really enjoy, probably not just in anime but in anything, is like when a cool character loses their cool. And that happens a couple of times in this game, is when, like, because all these characters in this game see themselves as quite a smart person, right? Like they've all got these like kind of mathematical minds, and they're all coming up with strategies. But then when it gets to the point where they've got like 1 point left and they lose that point and they're all just losing their shit, it's just really fun to watch.
I feel like this game is a really good Chishiya game, and maybe the prison game would have been good for Anne. I feel like because she's an observer, because her backstory is that she's a cop, right, or something.
Yes. Or,
something like that.
It's
and
like
she's
forensic cop or something.
So like it would have been like a cool balance to see what these two did, but I guess that would have contradicted her like escaping.
That's
into
true,
the world.
actually. That prison game would have been really good for Anne, now that you mention it.
Just more eye candy for me and Risky. Like it'd just be texts like, Anne. But she's good at driving cars, so that's fair. But like this game, I really enjoyed the game, but I think the conclusion is still a little bit like, just basically Chishiya says, are you a I shouldn't use the C word because YouTube doesn't like that anymore.
I mean, it's basically an appeal to Kuzuryu's emotions rather than outwitting him, right?
Are you a dickhead or are you a good guy? It's like, I think I'm pretty good. I'll just die.
I didn't mind like the philosophical aspects of that conversation. Is kind of like Kuzuryu is this character that doesn't want to decide who lives and who dies, so that's why he's created this game where it's like completely fair. But then Shichiya like puts him in a position where he has to choose who lives and who dies between himself and Shishiya. So it's kind of like a mental trap in and of itself. And it's like, it also shows Shishiya his resolve to kind of like, he's okay with dying as well because maybe that's what he deserves.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the conclusion of it, where it's like Shishio wins, but it feels like he's lost as well because he made Kuzuru choose, and like it wasn't the choice that he was expecting, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, he still won.
Yeah,
he's still like sucker. Because like given kind of yeah, I guess so. But
it is a convenient
I'd still be
conclusion.
It's like, oh well, looks lucky me, I guess. Yeah. And he even says that to the girl that's playing there. He's like, well, it's just luck, and then she dies
before she melts.
Oh, it's a rough way to go. But like, yeah, no, I think this was like, one of the more enjoyable games.
It did a good job of like explaining the math in a way that was still engaging.
Yeah,
but you could follow
like overly,
it. Yeah, because like at first I was like, okay, I don't really get what the point of this game is. But the more they explained, the point 8 is like, it's to skew the average so that whoever chooses the lowest number is going to be the winner. But then if everybody chooses the lowest number, then it gets like the way they explained it was it made it make sense, but it was still fun to watch. Like it wasn't kind of like a over explanation. And it does that kind of anime thing of like dynamic explanation,
Yeah. It's so anime.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, like, because there is an anime of Alice in Borderland. It's an OVA though, so it's not like a really long one.
Okay.
I wonder if it's good or not. Like, there was not very much buzz about it. Yeah. I wonder if there was like a live action anime that was popular and then this came out. I wonder if we'd have the same reaction, because it feels like we're watching a live action anime.
Yeah,
just the style of it, but it's supremely entertaining.
Yeah. And I feel like it's probably a pretty good live action adaptation because it still keeps
it's almost,
the anime tropes, like it doesn't go the way of like a Death Note, for example, where it like throws the anime out the window. I'm talking about the Netflix Death Note adaptation.
Yeah. The guy's like, ah!
A lot of Western adaptations, they kind of fear sticking too close to anime. And perhaps rightly so, because sometimes it's not good either to stick too closely to the anime. But I think
just don't remake it in America. Just watch the anime.
But then we wouldn't have Alice in Borderland.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about Western live action adaptations.
Yeah, they're not good at it, are they?
I don't think I've seen a good. I mean, The Ring was good.
Yeah.
But that's not anime. Yeah. I haven't seen a good live action adaptation of an anime, and no, I haven't seen Speed Racer, but I'm sure it's not very good.
I like it. Battle Angel's okay as well, I think.
Oh yeah, Alita, yeah.
But
that's basically the last long form game before one of the like major conflicts.
Yeah, we see a montage of other games that take place. There's like some kind of fight club that Quina takes part of. I think that's the Jack and Spades game.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then
there's the dodgeball,
and the Tron dodgeball, like, flip it around there. And I laughed a lot when I saw that because it just looked really. Because it was just like it looks so epic because there's so much shit going on screen.
Yeah.
And then like Anne and Quina are doing like really like anime like moves, like dodging and just like and like
there's like a game that involves rope climbing. I'm not sure what that one was, but they show a little bit of that.
Who was playing that one? Someone. It was Anne? Anne was playing
I think it's
that,
one of the games that Anne and Quina take part in together.
No, I don't think Quina plays. I think it's just Anne that plays that one.
Not sure, because they have like this arc where they build a relationship and their teamwork. So I think that...
Yeah.
I think maybe they did that together to kind of...
I mean, they kind of just meet up and they're like, hey man, what's up? It's like, let's play some games. It's like, cool. And then like, Tron dodgeball. But there's kind of like a, spaghetti western showdown between like
Miragi,
Chishia,
and
Arisu.
So I found this pretty random.
A little bit random. I think they're trying to flesh out Niragi a bit more with this scene.
I get Niragi's motivation in this. It's I mean, he's just there to cause chaos, right? Like he's there to be evil to the end, basically.
But he has an arc overall.
Yeah.
Whether he earns that arc or not is another question in itself, because he's a pretty deplorable human being.
There's a scene where he comes across a guy that's tried to commit suicide but has failed to like cut himself deeply enough.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And the guy's like, please kill me. And at first you think Niragi's gonna do it because he's like a bad dude, but then actually the more evil thing to do is let this guy suffer, which he does. So basically Niragi is just evil.
The show is trying to imply that he's absolved by the end, which kind of, I like that you mentioned that he doesn't really do anything to like
earn it.
I mean he kind of has this like he kind of has a speech after he gets shot by Arisu with the shotgun, which was apparently a real shotgun.
Oh yeah.
And like the reaction that he got, because like Kento had never fired a gun before.
Right.
It was like a real expression, like
Nice.
how powerful it was. But like after he gets shot, like he just says something to Arisu, like I'm gonna be like a prick forever or something, and then it's like kind of sad music. It's like, yeah, I guess you're still a jerk.
I think he said something about like hypocrisy, like he doesn't really like Alice's type of character, because it's like they act heroic, but then at the end of the day they're not. But it doesn't really quite land, I think. And maybe again, it might be one of those things that's explored more in the anime or the manga.
And Chishie gets shot, like tries to save Alice. I was like, oh shit! So this is the point where I didn't know there was gonna be a season. I didn't know this was the last season.
Right,
so I'm like, oh fuck! Like he's gonna die.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's actually a pretty funny moment after that, which is kind of awkward, like because the King of Spades comes down, and then Arisu and Usagi run, and then they bump into Kuina and Anne, and Kuina's like, oh, did you see Chishiya? And then Alice is like, yeah, he's gonna be fine.
He's fine.
And I was like,
is he though?
Because like there's kind of an edit where it looks like Chishiya dies.
Yeah, he's like lying on the floor, just not breathing.
It's like
But like he's not dead because he didn't have like enough of a speech, I think, before that moment.
I think so. Yeah.
So like he's probably alive still.
But I thought like I was gonna get my expectations subverted, like because he's already had 2 speeches, and it's so maybe he'll just die. But like he doesn't.
No.
But he's like, yeah, he's fine. It's all good. And I was
they meet up again, and they all like plan a showdown with the King of Spades to take him down. They come up with this pretty elaborate plan involving a pharmacy and a makeshift explosion.
Man. This fucking scene
was good.
Yeah. Look, man, it was a hot night. I was like, about 11 p.m. I'm like, I'm gonna watch an episode of Alice in Borderland, and then maybe watch it the next day to space it out. I had my bag of popcorn and shit, and I was just like, I was on the edge of my seat, because it's like it's Arisu and Kuina, Usagi, Aguni, and Ayane. So they all have this plan to like get him into this like paint shop and like use pharmacy, it's a pharmacy, and they want to blow it up so like it'd get him killed. And there's like this really well choreographed action scene between like all 5 of them fighting, the King of Spades, and it's very like the action.
There's a lot of pew pew in it. And
a lot of pew pew, a lot of dodging. It was. I was like, man, this is fucking amazing. And then what put me even more on the edge of my seat is like when they're all kind of mortally wounded.
They all start getting owned one by one.
I was like, oh wow, I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, when did this happen?
So I think it starts off with Ayane getting like just riddled with
like,
bullets.
I was like, whoa, shit. Because like, this was the thing. Is like, in some Japanese films that I've seen that kind of like to play on that setting up a cool character trope and then them dying suddenly. It's like It's like I was like, oh shit, are they doing that? Like she's just gonna like she was a cool character.
Well, I was always kind of expecting her to get killed at some point. So when that happened, I was like, okay, that's a well earned death. I think like she dies saving Aguni, who she's kind of in love with. So that's like a redemption arc. But then Anne gets shot, and I'm like,
and
no!
then Anne gets shot. I was like, what? Anne? It's like, you haven't done anything in the show. Like, when are you going to get your moment? And then Quina gets stabbed several times in the stomach.
Yeah,
and
man, then, that was painful to watch.
Oh, and then like Usagi almost gets like
Korean
her
stabbed.
Korean stabbed like in a thigh. I thought it was gonna like pop the kneecap out. I was like, oh man. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. I messaged you. I'm like, oh man, like what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, I had to finish watching it after that because it was like, man, what a showdown. It was just like,
yeah, the whole plan kind of comes apart at the seams.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Which again, I enjoyed that subversion though, like the subversion of like a well-made plan, but then just reality sets in when it doesn't work out.
Yeah. But like it was just such a cool action sequence.
Yeah.
Like
King of Spades pretty OP as well.
Yeah. Like because even though like I do have a criticism with some of the like the action in the show is really good, and it's a very like violent show. It's a dark show. But there's one thing that I would say when it comes to showing people getting shot, it's that kind of CGI blood shot. Yeah. And I'm not sure because like Japan has a weird censorship law. Violence can't be too realistic or gory. So games like Resident Evil, the latest Resident Evil had to be censored. So you can't like blow up people's heads and stuff. That Callisto Protocol game was banned. Until Dawn was banned. So movies like Saw that have really gory deaths had to be like altered.
So you think it's
for Japanese
intentionally
release.
Unrealistic?
Yeah, I think it's intentionally like that. But it's kind of like a weak aspect of it, I think.
Because CGI blood can be done well. And can be done like realistically. Yeah. And I think I don't even think it's that hard to do it that realistically.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But like, because there's only kind of like, but it's so weird because like the acid shit looks fucking painful. That's not a good way to go.
Right.
And even some of the in the prison game when you see the bombs, that's quite gory. That's quite violent. So the line is really weird.
Well, maybe it's like a stylistic choice though. Because like
no, but one of the dudes gets shot with an anti-tank rifle, and there is like some gore, but it's like I don't know, but it's just weird because like Japanese movies can go down the most fucking transgressive shit you'll ever watch that like no Western media thing would ever touch, but like the fact that it's this kind of violence that would stop it from getting like.
Or maybe
aired, I guess, yeah.
Maybe all the visual effects teams were working on Marvel properties at the time, so they had to do it.
Yeah, if only they like. Yeah, I imagine like if you could somehow mix like a little bit of that Indonesian director Timo Chetono. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry, Risky. You know how he does his violence. I imagine if they put a little bit of that into some of like the gunshots, like it would just be like you just add that extra layer of I guess a little bit of realism, or maybe even like how they did the fourth Rambo. Yeah. It's just, I mean, it didn't need to. It doesn't like, it's a very small nitpick because like the show is fucking fantastic to watch.
And it's also like some of these characters actually survive getting rinsed with bullets. So, if you add that level of gore, then that kind of makes it less plausible, like their eventual survival.
Yeah. Because I actually thought like all the characters died at the end of the King of Spades showdown because it's like, then Arisu goes to the last game.
So Arisu manages to blow up the King of Spades and kill him. And then, he goes to the Queen of Hearts game, which is called Croquet, and led by Mira, who was also an executive at the beach, the one that you mentioned earlier in this episode. There was just a very orgasmic evil person.
Yeah, orgasmic evil person.
Just really having a lot of fun being evil, this character.
Yeah.
So her game, she sets it up by saying all you have to do is finish 3 rounds of croquet. You don't even have to win the croquet. You just have to play 3 rounds with her, which sounds easy enough. Although Usagi So Arisu and Usagi go to her together, but Usagi has been stabbed a lot. She's losing a lot of blood. So Arisu is the one that plays the croquet. He loses a round and then he wins a round.
And then it goes into a psychological trauma.
Yeah, so Queen of Hearts, Mira asks them to have tea with her, which they do. And she basically has a conversation with him that
makes him trip balls.
Yeah, basically. Arisu is just looking for answers. So he actually wants to know what's going on. I guess that's also his motivation for winning these games is he wants to get back to the real world, but he also wants to know what's going on. What's up with this world? So she's giving him all these answers that kind of make sense, but then says, no, that was a lie.
Yeah. This is kind of enjoyable because, like, it's funny because all those like explanations could be plausible.
Yeah,
but
I imagine also, those
very
were like
ridiculous.
Those are ideas that were thrown out by the mangaka, like ideas of the conclusion. So one of them is like, it's aliens, I think.
Yeah. Another one, it's like simulation theory.
Yeah. So probably all theories that the fans have come up with as well. It kind of reminds me of the end of Moon Knight as well. I know that you haven't watched that TV show, but basically the same thing happens with Ethan Hawke and that other guy. I forget his name, Oscar Isaac. Alice starts to trip balls, and Mira says, what did she say? She brings up his friends. So
she basically plays on his survivor's guilt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his two friends from the first season. Yeah. What are their names again?
I forgot.
I feel like one of them is Shota, maybe? Shota and Karube.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So she's basically playing on his survivor's guilt, and she's talking about she kind of incepts the idea that it's Arisu's fault that they're dead. So, and that none of the games are actually real. Right. It's all in his mind, and that Shota and Karube died in a car accident in the Shibuya crossing, which kind of looked a bit funny. I don't know. just get plowed down. That shouldn't be a funny. It's a kind of just the effect just looked funny. I don't know. And then the scene changes to because it's the original scene is on the top in a very Victorian croquet game. And then Mira's kind of a little bit of a goth lolly, I guess. Yeah. But then she's basically a psychiatrist in a kind of a medical ward, and she's telling Arisu that none of this is real, and that he should quit the game. And then
she says that Usagi is a fellow patient that's worried about him.
Yeah.
Basically Mira's employing all these tactics so that Arisu quits the game rather than finishing 3 rounds with her, which I guess is essentially the game itself, is whether or not he's going to quit. He doesn't because of the power of love or whatever.
Yeah, the power of love.
Yeah.
But I think this is a moment where the power of love. I didn't mind that excuse, the power of love.
I mean, it had to be the power of love at the end of the day, right? They've been building this relationship between Arisu and Usagi for 2 seasons. Yeah. And it's got to pay off in some way.
That's the thing. They built it up. It's not in the end of Wonder Woman where it's the power of love won. It's what? Even though, it was kind of... But anyway, that's another rant. But, so during this section, I knew that Mira was talking shit the whole time. You know it.
The whole time? Even when it was aliens?
Yeah, even when it was the even the whole time, because it's gonna have a good ending, but there's still a part of me that was still that's these are all very plausible. He might actually just be a mental patient because it seems it would make sense as to why, as you were saying before, people getting riddled with bullets didn't die because it's different. It's just his thoughts, but at the end, he breaks through for the power of love because Usagi, slices her arm or something.
Yeah,
and she's this is real. So I was very, very Japanese, of course. I'm not going to do that for you, Dad. I'll be man. I'll probably I'll cut my finger, but
That's not enough.
I think
it's not enough to convince me, Tommy.
But yeah, no, and then
Alistair doesn't give up, and he finishes 3 rounds. He also manages to convince Mira, like the power of love also convinces Mira of something.
Yeah, it's like, it's a little bit convenient, but it's also like, it's quite nice because it kind of shows that Mira is not just an evil orgasmic, like evil-gasm person. She's a citizen, she she's just there, like she used to be a real person. Yeah, it was actually a surprisingly like wholesome ending to that game. Like I would expect her, it's like, you haven't seen my final form, and then she'd just go into like a gunfight or whatever. But like I think like if that had happened, I don't know, like because the King of Spades fight scene was already like really good.
Yeah.
But she just they finished the game of croquet, and she's like, you'll get your answer, like regardless of whatever you choose. You'll get your answer, and then she dies.
She dies, and that ends all of the face card games as well.
Actually, I will have to say though, why didn't anyone join that last game aside from Arisu and Usagi?
Yeah, you kind of have to assume all of the King of Spades. The King of Spades just killed everyone.
But there was obviously a lot of people survived, but like I wonder, it's just kind of like. It's like, hey, I want to play it. It's like, nah, I got this, man.
It's just,
right. I got this, man. But like, Usagi, she's like half dead. It's like, no, don't worry. We got this, man.
We got this,
we got it. It's all right. It's like, okay.
Well, I guess that kind of feeds into like, Arisu being the main character, and like why is he the main character? Maybe it is all in his mind. Maybe
so that's why it made that a bit plausible, because I'm like, that's why like no one joined the game, because like there is no one, but there is, but yeah.
So the rest of the remaining players are presented with a choice whether or not to stay in this world or go back to the real, quote unquote, real world. So this is where that kind of recurring theme of like maybe this world is actually better than the real world comes into play, because it goes through each of the remaining players and we get to hear their answer to this choice. So like the 2 people that we mentioned from the prison game, they both choose to stay in this game world, whereas pretty much the rest of them choose to go back to the real world, right?
Yeah, certainly the 2 serial killer guys, the con man and the serial killer guy, which again I thought you'd see them more in a season 3, but they're just like, nah, we're gonna stay. It's cool here. But like basically everyone's like, nah, I've had enough of this shit. And this is where you start seeing like Ayane, who should be dead, but is like crawling to Aguni, and she's like, I wanna get out of this world. And Quina is like, I don't want any of this. And Anne, whose eyes are glazed, as if she's probably...
she doesn't say anything, does she?
She doesn't, like... Yeah, but then I guess there's a somewhat of an explanation for that, but I'm assuming maybe it's in her mind that she says she doesn't want it. But like, she looks pretty dead, man. But like, she's just lying there, just like... but like the way like they do that kind of push, that dolly push, to imply that she says something. So like
okay.
But this is where it gets revealed what really happened, because there's like a little foreshadowing when they meet this girl earlier before they find the film canister. She's like something about the fireworks, and she's like, I remember the fireworks, and bang, King of Spades kills her. But it's like, it's just like, fuck, King of Spades, man, like fuck
it, I just want to know the answers. Just calm down, mate.
Basically, this is where the show takes that very kind of Japanese parallel world Makoto Shinkai direction, where it's like everyone in it cuts back to the Shibuya crossing for the first episode, and it was a comet. A comet came and crashed down and killed everyone.
So we get to see all the characters that we know and love were actually there at the crossing at the same time as Arisu. So we get to see Anne, she's there, Shishia is there, Yeah, they're all kind of crossing at the same
Niragi's
time.
there, yeah.
Niragi's just chilling at the station, yeah.
Yeah.
And yet they all get crushed by this comet.
Man, there's a show of a lot of comets crashing in Japan, isn't there? You know? Kimi no Nawa in this
There's
movie.
a lot of natural disasters in general, Tavi. It's not a lucky country in those terms.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the comet crashes down, and this is like kind of like, they basically... the Borderlands is purgatory, right?
So we learned that Addis's heart stopped for like a minute, maybe.
Yeah.
So
everyone who was in that world, their heart stopped for a minute.
Yeah. So it's the border of life and death.
Yeah.
And presumably, well, we see that everybody that chose to return to the real world survives in the real world.
Yeah.
So they all wake up at the hospital with various ailments. Like, I think Ayana's still missing a leg, right?
Yeah. So I think, like, what happens to them in the Borderlands world kind of, like, reflects to their injury in the real world, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, Niragi
was pretty cool.
is somewhat burnt. Not like, not as burnt, but still somewhat burnt.
And you see Anne is on the brink of, like, life and death. Like but her heartbeat comes back, so that's why like she's glazed as in parallel. But yeah, none of the characters have any memory of the parallel world, but they sense that something has changed, which is when Niragi gets absolved. He's like, oh, I feel like I'm a better person now, kind of thing. Even though, like, he's still a bastard.
Yeah, he's probably still a jerk.
He's probably still a
he's
jerk.
Just saying that because Shishi is there.
Shishi is just like, do you feel like you've changed? Like, yeah. I think I'm an awesome guy now. It's like, he's still kind of a prick. But, like, that's all right, you know? Just got to go with it. But, yeah, like, I was telling you.
But
like,
anybody that died in Borderland is dead in the real world.
Is dead.
So, like, Shota and Karube are dead. They just got killed by the comet, presumably. Anybody
so that's
that
kind of like the survivor's guilt,
anyone that chose to stay, well, we don't really find out the fate of those two guys, but
yeah,
I guess,
that's true.
I guess maybe they're dead or in a coma. Maybe they're in a coma.
Oh, actually, yeah, that might be. Yeah, you don't know.
Or maybe they're just because time is different. Maybe they're just still like, living in that world while being dead. I don't know. It does raise a few questions. It's like the previous citizens, like. What happened to them? Are they kind of like, how long have they been in Borderland for?
Well,
was it also like, a comet that killed them?
No, like, I was watching someone like break down the ending and comparing it like with the manga and the live action. And basically, I think what happened with the citizens is that they were just closer to the impact.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
So, like, because, like, the thing would have, like, taken seconds. So they've been dead for slightly longer. So it was all a comet. Because there's basically, like, the Joker card, because everything's Joker these days.
Yeah.
Like, So, basically, I think in the manga, it's like, the Joker is basically the ferryman that ships souls to the dead.
Okay.
When this comet hit Tokyo, he thought, like, that everyone getting killed by that was just kind of like a colossal waste of life. So he wanted to give everyone like a chance. So he created this Borderlands world for people to have a chance to fight to stay alive. That's why there's all these games.
Okay.
And so
that's explained in the manga, is it? Or no?
Yeah. So you actually see the Joker character kind of briefly. Because, like, at the end of Mira's game, like, you see the Joker and Arisu, and the Joker is like, am I a god or a devil? And then I don't think you see Arisu's answer, but he is like, I think there's a panel that kind of explicitly shows that he's a ferryman, and, like, there's all these dead bodies. So, I think that's more the spiritual side of it, which is not probably explained in the show.
Yeah, the Borderland is just based... because of the comet, right? So it's not like an ongoing limbo situation.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Where anybody that dies they go to Borderland.
Yeah, so I think it's just implied that the citizens that decide to stay will just eventually die because of how time works there. It's just different. Like seconds later is months down the track. So I think that's the explanation.
Yeah, presumably there are people that were even further away from the blast radius than Shibuya Crossing that are entering Borderlands at a different time and playing against these citizens from Alice's group. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that's why everyone in Borderlands is Japanese, I suppose.
Yeah, true.
So, like, it's... I like the ending. I wanted them to have a good ending. Like, you know, it's kind of like surprisingly sweet ending when Arisu and Usagi
they have a little bit of a meet cute situation.
A meet cute. And I was like, oh, that's nice, you know? Just watch, like, little seasons of people melting and burning each other. And,
it did remind me of like the end of a Makoto Shinkai film.
Yeah. So I was telling you, it's like the mangaka was probably just writing, and then it's like, and then Kimi no Nawa, and then he went to bed. It's like, yeah, that's it. But no, there's obviously
they just needed a really
a lot more thought out.
like Japanese acoustic guitar song to finish it
off. But yeah, no, I like it was actually it's a very sweet moment, and like if you'd watched that scene out of context, you'd probably be mistaken for watching
it's
not
an easy
Japanese
thing
romance.
to do as well. It's not an easy thing to create like a satisfying conclusion to this kind of show. Like you look at shows like Lost, where it's basically the same ending. Spoilers for Lost, by the way, but it's basically the same ending, but it's just really unsatisfying because it doesn't have that same emotional impact, and also it took way too long to get to that conclusion. But it's like I think, you know, depending on how they handled it, any of the conclusions that Mira presented would have been fine, I think, for me, as long as they were handled in the correct manner. And I think the way that this ending was handled was quite good. Like it wasn't about like the answer, really. It was more about the lessons they learned along the way, I guess.
Yeah, especially Diragi's lessons. Like, he's got to be a stand-up citizen. No, you're right. Yeah, it's not really. I think that's just kind of the general, like, what is the meaning of life? Like, it doesn't really matter. It's just like, what lessons have you learned being alive, kind of thing. And I think it's quite nice. You know, it's conclusive as well. I'm probably glad that they're not going to make a season 3, because it's like, I don't know if the actors, as much as they probably say they enjoyed doing the movie and stuff, they're like, I don't want to fucking jump from crate to crate. Like, you know, I don't know.
I feel like maybe this season could have used a little bit more time. Maybe they could have broken this season up into 2 parts. And fleshed out some of the arcs a little bit more.
Yeah. One more season would have been good, I reckon. But I'm also I'm happy that it's ended in that sense. Like, it's not just like with Lost, it's just piling questions on the questions on the questions. And it's like, oh shit, we're not going to get any more budget from the studio.
That's right, That's always the danger, isn't it? Like, they probably, if I were making this show, Tavi, I would have shot season 2 and 3 back to back, and just gotten in editing, you know, like, give Anne a bit more to do, I reckon, for starting.
You're right, Risky's like, I second that.
Ayane as well probably could have used a bit more screen time. I don't know, it's just like...
Even like Aguni as well.
I agree with you. Like, I'm glad it's finished, but maybe it would have been nice if they had a bit more time to...
Yeah, it would have been cool if there was, like... because Chishiya got, like, his own section, right? It would have been cool... Say if the games lasted longer, it would have been cool to see like Aguni and Ayane go on their own journey and cut back to that, or even see like, you know, Anne do actually play a fucking game, you know. And
give us a whole episode of Tron Dodgeball, you know what I'm saying?
No, I would have loved to watch Tron Dodgeball, you know. That would have been fun. Sure. So I think one more season would have been good, but for what we got, I mean, fucking Netflix would have just cancelled it anyway.
Probably.
So, so it's like, but like for what we got, like as an overall series now that season 2 has ended, like I really like this show a lot. Like I wonder if I like it as much as Squid Game or even more now, because like Alice in Borderland is more about the games than Squid Game.
Yeah.
Where, like, because Squid Game, it's like the games are designed not really for chance. It's kind of like you know, it's more on playing on the emotional beats about like being human and stuff.
It's more about the depravity of humanity and survival instinct.
Whereas Alice in Borderland is quite wholesome if you think about it. Like,
I mean, it's more melodramatic. Like the good characters are more clearly defined good characters, and the evil characters are more explicitly evil. Until they're not, because they learn a lesson, you know. Whereas
I'm a better person now.
Whereas in Squid Game, it's not as black and white as that. So I think, on the whole, Alice in Borderland becomes a more wholesome show. But I always thought that Alice in Borderland had more potential for a good second season than Squid Game, just because of the mysterious nature as well of the situation that they're in.
I don't think Squid Game season 2 would be as good as Alice in Borderland season 2, because Alice in Borderland is coming off material that's already written and concluded, whereas Squid Game season 2 is the reaction to how popular the show is, and like as I said, the director writer took 10 years to write that show, and now it's like, you know, make it in 2 years, thanks, bye, the kind of thing.
Just make it happen.
But you never know.
It's going to make money either way. Good. So Netflix
I mean,
is happy.
That guy's definitely that Korean. I forgot his name, but he knows how to make a movie though. Like, he's done some good stuff.
But back to Alice in Borderland. I think I don't know. It was good. I would have liked to have more exploration into the mysterious nature of the world. But I think they concluded it pretty well and answered the questions in a satisfactory manner.
I think without having the answers, like I'm satisfied with that. I think the issue for me is like I would have liked to have seen the characters I like in the show have more screen time, just more and to do,
more impact, like
more impact. So but like just. With what I got, like I was highly entertained by this show. There was never a point where I was turned off it and didn't watch it for a few months and then had to watch it because we were doing a podcast.
And definitely, like, even as a follow-up to season 1, I think it really ramped up in every facet of it. Like the action was higher stakes and more high octane. The games, even like the cerebral games, were like more. They're kind of more
just
anime.
More. More anime. I think it embraced its anime vibe, its anime feel a bit more. Even though there's like a scene in the first season where like Aguni fucking samurai swords a tiger and it does that pose. And then there's like the tattooed guy, and he's like, man, this guy looks so anime. I think the first 3 episodes didn't really feel much like anime.
It was a bit more like Squid Game. Right?
But then like it became a bit more of a live action adaptation of an anime, and then the beach stuff happened, and then I was like, oh, okay, like I don't know, like if I can get on board with the show. I eventually watched it and still enjoyed it, but like I think with season 2 I kind of knew what I was going to get, so it just made me just enjoy it a whole lot more. And it's just like the action scenes, man, like it doesn't fuck around like the first, like of course it might not be onto the same, like, you know, level as Marvel, even though Marvel looks pretty shit these days. but
no, I think that's that aesthetic as well really appeals to us.
I think so.
That style of gunplay as well.
We love that shit, man.
And just seeing like an OP character with a gun just rinsing like a bunch of scrubs is really fun to watch.
I mean, we gotta give credit to the other scrubs that actually tried to fight him, but got gunned down. That was pretty cool.
There's like those guys with the car door, and
it just guns them down. You know what? Like, good on you guys. Good on you for trying.
Like my whole scene, like my partner was just saying they should just attack him now together as a group, and they'll probably beat him, because like there's like all these like participants trying really hard to beat the King of Spades, and then there's Alice's group just like kind of hiding and plotting, and like they have guns and arrows, like they could probably help to beat it. But no, they kind of come up with a strategy that ultimately fails.
Yeah, King of Spades, man, he's
knows how to play. Yeah.
Knows how to play. Yeah, yeah. Nah, good. Yeah, like honestly, probably like if I was gonna think of like best action sequence, like that would probably be like there. Like that's of last year. Like that. Like I was like, man, just edge of your seat. Just like it's amazing. Like good stuff. You know, like I want to see more of it. Like yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, season 1 as well. Like this show in general, it's just really easy to watch. I think it's pretty. It's very fun to watch. And yeah, it's on Netflix as well. So
yeah,
why
go
not
watch it. You can finish it.
If you somehow haven't watched it and are still listening to us talk about it and spoiling all of it, you should go watch it. You should.
Yeah,
it's good.
Go. Watch it with your parents and watch it with your kids. It's a very wholesome show. You know, full of good morals and fantastic. It's got a very nice ending as well.
Yeah, people learn lessons.
Yeah. There you go.
What would you have chosen, Tavi? Would you choose to stay in that world or go back to the real world?
No, I would have just been dead.
Yeah, same.
I would have lost the game.
I would have been. Yeah, I would have just died in the first game.
Yeah, I would have been like that game that Ayane plays and you have to run from the stadium. I'd just be dead. I would have been hit by the rocks and dead. I wouldn't even get a choice. I'm just dead. I'm that guy in the prison who's like, I can't take this anymore. Just be dead.
Yeah. I reckon I wouldn't have even died in the game. I would have cut my leg on a rusty car.
He's dying later.
Just die of tetanus. Yeah, fun stuff.
Oh man, yeah. But if miraculously I made it to the end, fuck that world, man. It's cool to watch, but I don't want to live in that shit.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Monster Hunter, fun game to play. Horrible world to live in. I don't want to be mauled by monsters. What about you? Would you have stayed?
Oh, no. Back to the real world for me.
Yeah, you hang out with the serial killer guys?
Yeah, they do seem like fun guys to hang out with. But,
yeah.
No, I like my modern conveniences, I reckon.
Yeah. Last question, I guess, before we get off. If there was a season 3, which apparently there is a sequel manga called
A Second Comet.
Borderland, Reborn. Another comet. Like, God damn it.
Second Impact.
Yeah. Well, apparently, Usagi and Adesu are, married and have a kid. But I don't know very much about it. But if there was a 3rd season, what would you, want to see?
It doesn't have to be the same characters. Essentially, I just want to see more creative games, really.
Yeah.
You can always build new, interesting characters. But yeah, I always watch Alice in Borderland for the games, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, just Second Comet, different people.
Yeah, it could be another natural disaster. Yeah. It would be interesting.
Maybe different time setting, perhaps.
Yeah. And maybe kind of that world, but different rules, because it seems I don't know what the god of death is capable of, but it seems like he can kind of just make shit pretty whack, I suppose. And it'd be pretty fun to as I say, you see those two guys again, the con man and the serial killer have their own sitcom in their world, kind of thing, I don't remember that. It's just they're just
he was a con
killing
man.
people.
He was a serial killer. Together, and they're two bros playing games.
And they got that that 90s title card with the yellow text. Yeah.
The wind at my wings. Right. Freeze framing.
I would watch that if they made an absolutely ridiculous parody and this is Back in the World. I'd watch it. It'd be funny.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd like it, but I'd watch it. But yeah, no. That's it from me. Go watch the show. It's good.
Alright, guys. What did you think of Alice in Borderland, the 2nd season? Did you find it a satisfying conclusion, or is there a different ending that you had in mind, let us know. You can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at twoasianblokes to see what we're up to. We're going to be pretty busy, as Tavi said, for the next couple of weeks, putting out stuff. Yeah, look forward to it.
Yeah.
New year, new energy. All right, guys, take care of yourselves.
Yeah, take care of yourselves. And see ya.
See you later, unless the comet hits us.
Yeah, look out for those comments.